your boy JB, and I'm here with the review for Claws Season 3, Episode number 8. So you guys, we only have 2 more episodes left of this season, and let's go ahead and so without further ado, we're just gonna go ahead and just jump into the video. Alright, you guys, so I think what I'm gonna do with this episode is I'm gonna talk about Anne first. So we see Anne, she's at the motel room, and she is, frantic and worried about Arlene. So it looks like she's having a daydream where she's submerged in water, and Arlene is there calling for her. And when she tries to reach out for Arlene, floats away. So now Anne is worried about Arlene. So then we see Anne, she went to the casino, and she saw Dean. He was still at the mahjong table. He was playing mahjong. And, she asked him if he had saw Arlene. He said that he saw Arlene earlier, and she was heading toward Mac and Melba's office. And she was like, interesting. And, she says, well, are Mac and Melba still there? He says, no, I think they might have left. So then we see at the mahjong table, the professor's there. And I'm going to talk about the professor a little bit later. And, the professor, he's telling the professor a lot of shit. And I'm like, Dean, shut the fuck up. Like, you are running your mouth to somebody that you absolutely do not know, because he's talking about Anne is his sister's friend. How Desna gets herself in a lot of trouble, XYZ, XYZ. And I'm like, oh my God. So then we saw another scene where Anne, she called Polly. And, she's asking Polly, like, hey, Polly, do you know what's going on? Like, have you heard it? Is Desna lying to me? Because she told me that Arlene was not at the casino, but I just left from the casino, and Dean told me that Arlene was there. So is Desna lying to me? And Polly is telling her, like, I don't know anything. So, what, girl, I'm gonna have to go. And I'm gonna get into a few minutes just why Polly had to go. So, then we see another scene, and she went to the police station, and she's looking for Arlene. So she runs into Arlene's boss, and Arlene's boss tells her that Arlene is on a sting, and how for a little bit of time she's gonna have to be offline, but she will reach out to someone to have Arlene reach out to Anne. So then once Anne does leave the station, she takes out her cell phone and she makes a phone call, and she calls the professor, and she tells the professor she did what she was asked to do. So he says if Anne is to return, she needs to shut it down. And then we also see the professor. He's still at the mahjong table. He's still having a good time with Dean. And once again, like I said before, Dean is running his mouth. And I'm like, Dean, if you don't shut the and fuck up. So then, the professor, he takes his phone and he takes a picture with Dean and he sends it to Desna. And he tells Desna that, what did he tell Desna? I'm sorry, y'all. Well, he took a photo. He took it and he sent it to Desna. And I'm going to get into that in a little bit as well. So I guess since I'm talking about Dean, I'm also group him in with Anne, because we saw a scene later in the episode where Dean was with Christina Milian. And he had Christina Milian dressed up like she was Virginia. So we saw them. They were organizing some stuff. And he tells her, go, look on your phone like you're, checking your social media. So she does check her social media. He says, can you say, oh, krr? She says, I can't say that. So obviously what Dean is trying to do is he's trying to he's trying to replace and make a copy of Virginia, since actually he broke up with Virginia. It's kind of funny. He broke up with Virginia, but he is with a Virginia knockoff. That is very, very interesting. All right, so I'm gonna pause right here because I have to look at my notes. I type really fast, so I have to make sure I know what this note's saying. So give me just all right. So then the last scene with Anne, we see Anne. She's in her van and she's calling Arlene, and she's saying, like, Arlene, I know that something is wrong. Like, I can just feel it. And she says, Arlene, I cannot do this without you. Like, what if the baby needs to go to the doctor? Well, I mean, you take the baby to the doctor, but I get it. She doesn't want to go through this whole motherhood without the love of her life. So I definitely understand it. So, so then we see Anne. She is at Desna's place, and she asks Desna, like, where is Arlene? And Desna tells her that Arlene is dead and that Matt killed her. And when she said that, man, when Anne just broke down crying, I'm like, wow, that is some damn good acting. There were two scenes in this episode that was some good acting when it came to, well, three actually when it came to emotions. She was one of them, and I'm gonna get into the other two in just a minute. So stick around. All right, next, you guys, we're gonna talk about Polly. So remember earlier I was talking about Polly was on the phone with Anne, and she told Anne she couldn't talk. Well, the reason why Polly couldn't talk to Anne is because she was in she was in Joe's trunk. So Joe opens the trunk, and she's like, Polly, what the fuck are you doing here? And she was following. Well, she wasn't following him. She was trailing. She was stuck with him. And she asked him what did the professor send him to do. So Joe tells her the professor sent him to kill what is the governor, Patel. So Polly's like, okay, I want to stick around with you when you do this. He was like, absolutely not, Polly. Like, that's not gonna happen. She was like, Joe, I want to stay with you. So he's like, okay, Polly. So what we got to do is we got to do a stakeout. So because somebody else pulled up on a bike, and it's one of those, remember in the episode where Anne got pregnant, it's one of those same situations where he's at a sex thing. He is into some weird and kinky shit. So they're still sitting there, and the next morning comes, and the lady does decide she does finally leave. So then they go in for the kill. So Joe goes in there, and he takes a pillow, and he begins to try to suffocate Patel. And Patel does get an advantage over him. So he and Joe start to struggle and start to fight with one another. And then Patel, and I'm still stuck on the fact that we know that Patel had a taser or a stun gun toward his balls. And I don't get how the fuck you are getting pleasure from that. But then Patel takes it and zzz, zzz, he's doing it to Joe. So then Polly sees it, and she's like, I guess Polly's like, well, you can't fuck up my man. So then Polly, she takes the pillow, she puts it over Patel, and she smothers the shit out of Patel. So that gives Joe the upper hand, and then Joe eventually he does end up smothering Patel to death. And he's gonna set this up as if Patel committed suicide, like he's done with everybody else, with Penelope, Yolanda, and now Patel. So, Polly, after this is over with, we see Patel. Patel is in a tub full of blood. And I'm like, God, how morbid can you be? But, it is, it wouldn't be claws. And, what's next? So, Polly, she's over there crying. And I'm like, oh, Polly about to crack. Oh, no. Polly has not cracked. Polly, it seems like she's turned over to the dark side because she is enjoying this, and she says she's not afraid of the darkness anymore. I'm like, oh shit, what does that mean for Polly? Because we all know Polly got some issues. So what the fuck does that mean? So we're gonna move. All right, you guys. So now I think I'm getting a rhythm of how this episode should go. So the episode. Now we started it with last week's episode ended when the professor. He came in and he slit Arlene's throat and killed Arlene. And Des is like, that is a cop. He's like, she's a dead cop too. So, the professor, whose name is Benedict Lee, he is pissed off with Mac and Melba. And the reason why he's pissed off with Mac and Melba is because he feels like Mac and Melba have scammed him and his family. And now Desna is lumped into this as well. And Des is trying to say like, yo, I ain't got shit to do with this. He was like, oh yeah, you got something to do with it, and you guys have a task that you have to do. And you might be saying, what is that task? The task is they have 24 hours to get him $3 million. Now, how the fuck they gonna do that? Who the fuck knows? So then they want to start to blame one another. And then Mac and Melba's like, well, there's obviously a snitch somewhere. They just don't know where. So, Desmond's trying to figure out, like, what the hell do we do with Arlene? And they want to call, Mac and Melba want to call somebody to come take her body. And she's like, no, we're giving her a funeral because my best friend loves this woman. We are going to do the right thing by her. So then Desna does leave, and that leaves Mac and Melba in the office with one another. And, Mac is like, when it comes down to Dean, when he's like, they need to get, well, actually, scratch that. Mac, he wants to leave. Melba does not want to leave. And the reason why Melba doesn't want to leave is because she knows that the Mahjong tournament is coming up. And she still wants to follow through with their plan when it comes to Dean and taking the money and killing Dean. Like, damn. Okay, so then so we're gonna move over and we're gonna talk about Jen and Bryce. So they leave from, beating the shit out of those white nationalists, and the video has gone viral. So then they go up to the van, and on the van it says in red paint, race traitors. So then we see Jen's mom, Brenda, come up, and Brenda's telling them like, "Hey, if you guys need me to watch the girls, I can watch the girls." And Jen's like, "Mama, no, we're good." She's like, "I won't take them to the club, or the strip club, where I can get free some half price food or something, or free food or something like that." And she's like, "No, Mama, we got a babysitter, and the babysitter's watching them." So, that's that. We're not gonna talk about that just yet. Okay, so at the casino, we saw Desna. Desna was talking to Polly, and she told Polly that Arlene is dead, and she doesn't know how to tell Ann, and she's really not at the point where she wants to tell Ann. And Desna says that she said they can't say anything, and or else Ann will be out for blood. So then Joe was in the casino, and that's when Desna told Polly to watch Joe, but she needed to be careful around Joe. And then okay, so then Desna was telling Roller that Mac and Mo, they got caught up in the money laundering, and now the Triad, they want them to pay them $3 million fucking dollars. So Roller's like, "Well, how about we go talk to Uncle Daddy?" And when they go talk to Uncle Daddy says, "Oh, hell the fuck no," because he knows about the Triad, and he says, "You can't take out the Triad. The Triad basically takes you out." And then he told him how Des like, "So you don't have no money saved away for a rainy day?" He said, "A rainy day?" He said, "I'm 2 minutes away from being on WIC." She said, "Boo, WIC is for people with kids. You have to have kids to get on WIC." So then we see those racist white nationalist assholes. They show up with some torches, and I'm like, "Are you serious? Like, these motherfuckers are crazy, 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 crazy." Then a motherfucker chanting USA. I'm like, "Y'all got to be the dumbest motherfuckers in the world." So then Bryce goes outside to confront them, and I'm like, "Bryce, these motherfuckers have torches. Why would you go outside to confront them?" And they try to charge at Bryce, and Bryce, when Bryce runs back to the rehab, that's when the police come in and stop them. I'm like, thank God for the police, because Bryce dumbass would have got them in a whole lot of trouble. Like, what the fuck? You gonna go approach some motherfuckers that have torches in their hands? That's smart. Very, very smart. All right, guys. And then at the shop, we saw Virginia. She's talking to them about the white nationalists and how, with the video going viral, they've gotten a lot of, followers, and some of them are, racist ass people. So Desna's in the shop trying to figure out, like, well, what do we do about the Triad? Like, how do we get the Triad off of our ass? So then Ann calls Desna because she's worried about Arlene, and she asked Desna if she saw Arlene, and Desna's like, "No, I haven't saw her." She said, "Because you were at the casino, and Arlene was supposed to go to the casino. Did you see her?" She says, "No, didn't see her. Nothing, didn't see her at all." So Ann is like, "You know what? I need to go look for her." She says, "No, Ann, stay put, because the Triad is here, and you still have a target on your back." So she hangs up on Ann, and Ann says, "Fuck that. I'm going to find my woman." I'm like, "Ooh, okay." So then we find out where the white nationalist, the leader of the white nationalists, and his name is Chad. We find out where he stays. He stays on a plantation. Go figure, a fucking plantation. So they see that he got a lot of stuff that might be of value. So what they want to do is they want to take the shit that he owns and give it to the Triad, the McAllen Triad, as payment for that $3 million. So then we see Desna, and she was at the casino, and she was telling Mac and Melba about what she wants to do. So Melba says that she doesn't know Chad, but they were a part of this. What did she say it was? I have to look in his notes to see what it was. God damn it. They were part of this group, a white beach party or something like that. I can't remember. I just saw that note. Yeah, a white beach tennis court. So they got Mac and Melba got kicked out of it, and the reason they got kicked out of it because these people take the white part very seriously, and they told Mac to go back to where he came from. I'm so over hearing that shit. Like that shit is really irritating my life because your dumbass president, his supporters, they chant and send her home, and where we gonna send people to that were born in the fucking U.S. And Mac is a Native American, so you can't tell Mac to go back to where he came from because technically the Native Americans were already here when Christopher Columbus supposedly discovered the Americas. So you can't tell him to go home because his people were already on this land when Christopher Columbus came here, stole the land, and claimed it as something that he found. So the fuck? Like I'm so in this climate, I'm so sick of hearing that shit. Send them home. Like that would be like somebody telling me, oh, you need to go back home. Well, I am home. I was born in the US. Just because I'm African American, I have never been to Africa. I don't know a thing about Africa. And if we are being honest, my ancestry is yes, most of my ancestry is Africa. But I do have some Native American. I have some Native American family members that were natives of America. Oh, that really irritated the shit out of me. Like for real, bothered me. So so after that, we see Uncle Daddy, we see Roller, we see Melbourne, and they go to Chad's, and they're telling Chad that there have been a lot of carjackings in the area by large black men, and that they are the neighborhood watch, and they just want to try to help him protect their neighborhood from the hoodlums, the hood rats, the swindlers, you know, the ne'er do wells, the bad people, the black men. So then we see Desna, Bryce, and Jen and Virginia. They breaking into the house to steal all the shit. So they robbing Chad, and then Desna got the text from the professor telling her that time was ticking. So then outside, Uncle Daddy, Roller, and Melba are talking with Chad, and they're talking about the old good black people that you got in the world, like the Ben Carsons, the good old Uncle Toms, the Coombs. Like, that's the type that they're talking about. It's this one guy. He is such a coon for Donald Trump. I'm not going to mention his name because I don't want to give him any spotlight on my channel, but he tweets about Donald Trump so much. Like last week, he was talking about how the black people, the African American community, we want to thank Donald Trump, saying that even the ones that don't want to say they want to thank Donald Trump, they thank you as well. And I had to tweet to him and tell him, you don't speak for the black community, and you sure the fuck don't speak for me. I don't want to thank Donald Trump for shit because Donald Trump ain't done a bitch ass thing for me. Fuck what he's trying to do for A$AP Rocky. Don't care. Do I feel bad for A$AP Rocky? Absolutely. But A$AP Rocky needs to think about what he said, because he said some insensitive ass shit. But we're not gonna go into that. So then we see Virginia and Bryce. They're in the bedroom and they almost got caught by the housekeeper. And so then Chad, he invites Mac, Melba, and Uncle Daddy to some kind of gathering. I guess it's like the KKK. Only thing is they don't wear the white hats, they wear red hats. And I'm like, oh, let me guess. The red hats are the MAGA hats, the Make America Great hats, the Donald Trump supporters. Oh, okay. I am so ready for 2020 election. That asshole has got to go. So then we see Jen and we see Desna. They're in the bedroom, and they notice that there are bars of gold, and she's like, jackpot. So as they get ready to go, the housekeeper Granny, she comes in with the shotgun. Y'all ain't going nowhere. And they were like, girl, like, let us go. Like, don't you want to get away from somebody as racist as him? She's like, he's not racist. He's just, going off of what his ancestors viewed. Well, his ancestors were racist motherfuckers. So what does that make him a racist motherfucker? But Virginia rolls in and pop knocks the shit out of Granny. So then we see Chad. He is looking for her, and her name is Emma Jean. And then he sees the others leaving with his shit, and he grabs a gun and he cocks it and he starts shooting at them, and they run toward the car, the getaway car that Mac is driving. So then Mac, he gets shot, and I'm like, oh, that ain't good. So then Melba puts her foot on the gas, and wait a minute. I guess when Desna put her hand on the steering wheel, she also must have put it in reverse, because they reversed out and they dipped out, and then they took him to the clinic and they tried to get Dr. Ken to help him, but unfortunately Dr. Ken was not able to help Mac, and Mac died. And when Melba lost it, I'm like, man, that showed a bit of a human side of Melba, and I'm like, wow, you see a different side of Melba. So then Melba and Desna, they take the stuff to the professor, and he asks, like, where's your husband at? She's like, he's dead, you piece of shit. He's dead because of you. And Melba loses it on him, and Desna tells Melba, go outside, go outside. And so then he's like, grief makes you do crazy things, and you gotta take her out. And if you don't do it, this knife right here, I'm gonna take you out. I'm like, fuck, like, what is she gonna do? Because Melba actually helped her, and like I said, you saw a different side of Melba. Like, it was really, really interesting to see a different side of Melba. I was slightly and pleasantly surprised by that. All right, you guys. So then the last thing that I definitely want to talk about is Uncle Daddy, Brenda, and Toby. So earlier in the episode, when they were talking, when Roller was talking about going to see Uncle Daddy. Well, we saw Uncle Daddy and Toby. They were looking at Brenda. Actually, this is back when Jen and Bryce got the car tagged. So Toby was telling Uncle Daddy, like, hey, Uncle Daddy, you got to make a choice between me and Brenda. So then later in the episode, we see Brenda had cooked for Uncle Daddy. Now, I was so confused. Was that Jell-O that she had cooked in a bundt cake pan? I'm like, okay. And then whatever that bullshit was that she cooked for him, I'm like, oh, I would have starved that night. But Uncle Daddy, he does break up with Brenda, and he tells Brenda that he loves Toby. I'm like, wow, I didn't see that coming. And she was like, well, do you want to still mess around on the side? He says, if this was a different time and period, absolutely, but he wants to be a changed man. I'm like, aw, Uncle Daddy. She's like, well, do you want your purple dildo back? I'm like, wait a minute, why does Uncle Daddy have a purple dildo? I would think Uncle Daddy would be, never mind. I'm going to leave it at that. But you guys, that was Claus. Like the video, leave your comments, subscribe to the channel, share the video. If you know people who watch Claus, send them to my channel and tell them to subscribe to the channel. And I will see you guys later. I will see you guys tomorrow for polls.